Karl Marx, a name that has echoed through the corridors of history, has sparked debates that continue to resonate in contemporary society. Born on May 5, 1818, in the city of Trier in what is now Germany, Marx emerged from a middle-class family. His father was a lawyer, and his mother came from a family of landed gentry. This background afforded him a solid education, leading him to study law, history, and philosophy at various universities, including Bonn and Berlin. It was in Berlin, amidst the intellectual fervor of the young Hegelians, that Marx began to cultivate his revolutionary ideas, deeply influenced by the dialectical method of Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. Marx's early career was marked by journalism, where he initially wrote for a radical newspaper, the Rheinische Zeitung. However, his outspoken critiques of the Prussian government led to the newspaper's closure, forcing him into exile. This exile would take him to Paris, a city teeming with revolutionary ideas and movements. It was here that Marx met Friedrich Engels, a partnership that would prove crucial in shaping his thoughts and theories. Engels, a fellow revolutionary and a wealthy textile manufacturer, provided Marx with both financial support and intellectual companionship, allowing him to delve deeper into his studies of capitalism and class struggle. Marx's experiences in Paris exposed him to the plight of the working class, which would become the cornerstone of his philosophy. He observed the stark inequalities of industrial society, where the bourgeoisie, the owners of the means of production, exploited the proletariat, the working class. This observation led to the formulation of his theory of historical materialism, positing that history is driven by material conditions and class struggles. Marx argued that the economic base of society shapes its superstructure, including politics, culture, and ideology. This foundational idea would later manifest in his seminal works, most notably the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. The Communist Manifesto, published in 1848, was a clarion call for the proletariat to rise against their bourgeois oppressors. Co-authored with Engels, the manifesto articulated the principles of communism and critiqued the capitalist system. It famously declared, "Workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains." This rallying cry encapsulated Marx's vision of a classless society where the means of production would be communally owned, eliminating the exploitation inherent in capitalism. The manifesto was both a product of its time and a timeless appeal for social justice, igniting revolutionary movements across Europe and beyond. Marx's analysis of capitalism in Das Kapital, published in 3 volumes between 1867 and 1894, delved deeper into the mechanics of capitalist economies. He examined the concept of surplus value, which refers to the difference between the value produced by labor and the wages paid to laborers. Marx argued that this surplus value was the source of profit for capitalists, highlighting the inherent exploitation within the capitalist system. His critique extended to the alienation of workers, who in a capitalist society become mere cogs in the machinery of production, disconnected from the fruits of their labor and their own human potential. However, Marx's ideas were not without controversy. To some, he is seen as a genius, a visionary who identified the flaws within capitalism and proposed an alternative that sought to liberate the working class from oppression. His insights into class struggle, the dynamics of power, and the impact of economic systems on human society have influenced countless movements for social change. Marx's work laid the intellectual groundwork for various socialist and communist movements around the world, inspiring leaders such as Vladimir Lenin, Mao Zedong, and Fidel Castro. Yet, to others, Marx is viewed as a dangerous idealist whose theories have led to oppressive regimes and catastrophic consequences. The implementation of Marxist ideas in the 20th century often deviated dramatically from his original vision. In the Soviet Union, for example, the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, which was ostensibly rooted in Marxist principles, devolved into a totalitarian state under Joseph Stalin. The state-controlled economy, purges, and widespread repression starkly contrasted with Marx's vision of a democratic and egalitarian society. Similarly, in China, Mao's interpretation of Marxism-Leninism led to policies like the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, resulting in millions of deaths and suffering. Critics argue that Marx's theories, while intellectually stimulating, are fundamentally flawed and overly deterministic. They contend that his emphasis on class struggle oversimplifies the complexities of human societies and ignores the potential for cooperation and collaboration among different social groups. The historical record shows that capitalism has shown a remarkable ability to adapt and evolve, incorporating elements of social welfare and regulatory frameworks that mitigate some of the inequalities Marx highlighted. Furthermore, the notion of a classless society has been criticized as utopian, with skeptics questioning whether such a society is achievable or even desirable. The human propensity for power and control suggests that any attempt to create a classless society may lead to new forms of oppression, as seen in various Marxist-inspired regimes. The concentration of power in the hands of the state, justified by the pursuit of a communist ideal, often results in the suppression of individual freedoms and dissent. Despite these criticisms, Marx's influence on social and political thought remains profound. His critique of capitalism has inspired generations of thinkers, activists, and movements advocating for social justice, labor rights, and economic equality. The concept of class consciousness, which Marx articulated, continues to resonate in contemporary discussions about wealth inequality and the power dynamics at play in modern economies. The rise of movements like Occupy Wall Street and the advocacy for policies such as universal basic income reflect a renewed interest in addressing the disparities that Marx so passionately critiqued. In assessing whether Marx should be seen as a genius or a dangerous idealist, it is essential to recognize the complexity of his legacy. His insights into the workings of capitalism and the plight of the working class were groundbreaking and remain relevant today. Marx's ability to articulate the struggles of the proletariat and envision a society free from exploitation is a testament to his intellectual prowess. However, the historical consequences of his theories, particularly when applied in practice, raise valid concerns about the potential for authoritarianism and the suppression of individual liberties. Ultimately, Marx's work serves as both a warning and an inspiration. It challenges us to critically examine the systems of power and inequality that persist in our societies, while also reminding us of the dangers of dogmatism and the pursuit of utopian ideals without regard for the complexities of human nature and social organization. To label Marx solely as a genius or a dangerous idealist is to overlook the nuances of his thought and the multifaceted impact of his ideas on the world. Ultimately, whether Karl Marx was a genius or a dangerous idealist remains unclear. What matters is reflecting on his ideas and their relevance to the ongoing pursuit of a just society.